The Sonoran Desert had a way of peeling men down to the bone. Out there, heat and hunger cut sharper than knives, and thirst could carve truth out of liars quicker than any bullet. Marcus Brennan knew this better than most. By 1873 he'd buried a wife, lost a home to fire, and carried scars from a war that had stolen his faith. He didn't expect mercy anymore. And he sure didn't expect it from the desert. So when he spotted the woman kneeling beside a fallen horse, clothed in black from head to toe, rosary beads glinting between her fingers, his instincts stirred like an old rattler. She looked like a nun, a holy sister stranded in the dust. But Marcus had lived long enough to know, not everything draped in black cloth was sacred. She raised her head as he rode closer. The desert sun caught her eyes, not downcast like a meek sister's should be, but direct, unwavering like a hunter's. "Mr. Brennan," she said softly, "thank the Lord you found me." And just like that, Marcus felt the hairs rise at the back of his neck. He hadn't told her his name. She called herself Sister Catherine. Said she'd been bound for a mission 40 miles east when her horse stumbled on a rattlesnake and shattered its leg. The animal lay twisted in the sand, still breathing shallowly. Marcus didn't answer at once. He offered her his canteen. Out here, water was the truest test of a person. The desperate gulped greedily. The cautious, those with something to hide, sipped. She sipped. He helped her mount his buckskin mare, Sadie. As they rode, her hands found his waist, gripping for balance. Through the thin fabric of his shirt, Marcus felt the strength in her hold, not the timid touch of a cloistered sister, but the practiced grip of someone who knew men, knew horses, knew survival. They rode in silence until dusk painted the sky in flame. When his ranch came into view, a modest adobe dwelling, 20 cattle, a weathered barn, he slid from the saddle and tied the mare. "You'll sleep in the barn," he told her. "Less work for me if you die out there than inside my house." Her mouth curved, just a fraction. An honest man. Rare in these parts. Not as rare as honest women. Something flickered in her eyes, amusement, or recognition. That night, he brought her beans and salt pork. She sat on a hay bale, head covering removed, dark hair pinned too severely to hide its thickness. "Will you sit with me?" she asked. Marcus leaned against the doorway. "You can say grace." She bowed her head, words tumbling out wrong, fumbling, backwards, hands folded left over right instead of right over left. Marcus watched closely. "You're no nun," he said. Her head lifted. Not denial. No gasp of protest. Just steady eyes and a calm voice. "No. I'm not." By midnight Marcus sat on his porch, Winchester in hand. He hadn't slept, couldn't. Somewhere out in the desert, riders were coming. He felt it in his bones. And then he heard them. 3 sets of hooves, steady on the sand. The first man dismounted near the barn, broad-shouldered, torch in hand. Marcus fired without hesitation. The man dropped, torch sputtering in the dust. The second and third wheeled their horses, revolvers flashing silver in the moonlight. Marcus dropped one clean, ducked the return shot, and rolled into firing position. His bullet caught the last man's shoulder. The rider staggered, running for the dark. And then, a gunshot split the night. The man crumpled. From the barn doorway, the woman stood not in a habit now, but in trousers and a man's shirt, Colt Navy revolver in her hands. Smoke curled from the barrel. Her arms trembled though her aim had been true. Marcus lowered his rifle, studying her. "First kill?" She nodded, tears trembling but unshed. "You did good." "He was aiming for me." "I know," she whispered, voice cracking. That was when Marcus understood whoever this woman was, she carried a truth heavier than cloth and rosaries. By dawn they'd buried 3 men in a dry wash. She told him her name then, Elena Whitmore. Her father had owned a ranch blessed with underground springs. 3 powerful men wanted it: Garrett the banker, Cross the water baron, Wade the telegraph master. When her father refused to sell, they burned him alive. Elena had worked for Pinkerton, until they fired her for chasing vengeance. Marcus listened in silence, the desert wind tugging at his hat brim. Then she spoke the words that cut him deeper than any blade. "They burned you too, Brennan. Your ranch. Your wife. It wasn't an accident." Same men. Marcus remembered the ash, the smell, the charred body of his wife. For 3 years he'd believed it was fate or God's punishment. Now he knew it was greed, calculated and deliberate. Elena's voice softened. I lied to you at first. Because men don't trust strangers. But they'll save a nun. I needed you to listen. I don't like being used. I'm not using you now. I'm asking. Help me. Please. He studied her. Dust clung to her hair, her shoulders, but her eyes burned with something raw. One condition, he said. No more lies. From either of us. Her hand found his. Calloused. Strong. The truth, she swore. They rode at dusk, bound for Tucson. Elena in borrowed men's clothes, Marcus silent at her side. By midnight, they rested near a fire. She told him of her father teaching her to rope and shoot, of failing to save him. He told her nothing, just sat in the glow, until she reached for his hand, fingers threading through his. Brennan, she asked softly, when you look at me now, do you see my blessing or my body? He studied her tired, honest face. Neither. I see a partner. And that's rarer than both. Her lips curved, the faintest smile. For the first time, she leaned her head against his shoulder. They broke into Wade's telegraph office. Elena found records proving the conspiracy, 15 ranches burned, stolen, resold. But then a boy appeared, no older than 16. Elena raised her Colt, steady and cold. Marcus stopped her. He's just a kid. He'll talk. We'll hang. And you'll become like them, Marcus said. Her hands trembled. She lowered the gun. Go, she whispered to the boy. When the boy fled, Elena broke, sobs tearing from her chest. Marcus held her, steady, letting her grief soak into his shirt. You did the right thing, he murmured. It'll cost us. It saved you. At sunset Wade came with 6 hired guns. The mine shook with gunfire. Marcus fought like a man with nothing left to lose. Elena, bleeding from a shoulder wound, still managed to drop 2 men. At last Marcus stood over Wade, rifle aimed. Elena, blooded, whispered, kill him. For my father. For your wife. Marcus tightened his finger. Then lowered the rifle. No. We don't kill like them. He tied Wade up and waited for the law. The conspiracy crumbled. Garrett was jailed, Cross killed fleeing, Wade hanged himself in his cell. Pinkerton offered Elena safety back east. She refused. Marcus didn't offer promises of riches or comfort. Only truth. I'll protect you with my last breath. And I'll never lie to you. Elena smiled. That's all I've ever wanted. Months later, with their rebuilt ranch standing solid against the desert wind, Elena asked him one last time. Brennan, do you see my blessing or my body? He drew her close, voice rough. Both. Your blessing gives me tomorrow. Your body makes me want to live to see it. Soul and flesh. That's the truth. She kissed him then, fierce and unyielding, until the desert wind carried every lie away. Out here, only one thing proved stronger than bullets, fire, or thirst. The truth.